What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Jump. Let's face it, guys, Tiffany Henyard is a terrible mayor. She's the worst in America, but there are some things she does very well, and she uses teamwork to achieve it. Now, I know whenever you see Tiffany Henyard throwing a big party or an event or Cinco de Mayo, any of those things you see on her Facebook page as Dolton Township Supervisor or even in the village of Dolton, it always says Tiffany Henyard presents X, Y, and Z, or Tiffany Henyard presents this. Let's check this post out. Supervisor Tiffany Henyard and the Dolton Township Board presents Youth Summit and Back to School Fest, as if she is the one paying for it out of her own pockets. Looks like it's just her doing these things, but not when you're running a crime syndicate. Because for you to steal over $3 million in a village, you need people to play ball. You need like Andrew Holmes as a trustee. You need a good criminal like Keith Freeman. And then you need a corrupt police chief like Lacey. But so how did Deputy Police Chief Lacey even become the police chief in the beginning?
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting the mayor.
The former police chief in South Suburban Dolton is speaking out for the first time to just one station about Mayor Tiffany Henyard's controversial police security detail and how it impacted his ability to fight crime.
Last year, a Fox 32 investigation showed how that detail is taking officers off the street and costing taxpayers thousands of dollars in overtime. Dane Placco continues his investigation, exclusively talking to the former top cop who tried to put a stop to it.
The manpower was just very stressed and critical to the point of almost breaking.
Former Dolton Police Chief Robert Collins spoke to us from Florida, where he's taken a new job after being fired by Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard late last year. But Collins says he remains frustrated by what he experienced leading an undermanned, overworked police department.
So that is how Lacey got on. But then things started getting bad for Lacey. Number one, he's a terrible police officer. He's terrible with people. He's rude to people. Nobody likes him.
This officer right here who don't do his job. It was something blowing in the road. My husband told him. To keep me from hitting it, I just slightly adjusted my wheel and he hit the lights on. This is the same officer, Lacey.
Just like nobody liked Keith Freeman, who was Tiffany Henyard's right-hand man. Now, she fired him from Dolton Township, and he's supposed to be the administrative director in Dolton, or the village director, whatever he's supposed to be doing. I didn't see him at last week's meeting, but he also got indicted on some particular charges.
A high-ranking administrator for both Dolton and Dolton Township is charged with fraud connected to an alleged bankruptcy scheme.
The village also completed negotiations with the police patrol, police lieutenants, and the sergeants.
Right here you see Keith Freeman, who sits next to embattled Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, discussing finances at a recent village board meeting. The U.S. attorney accuses Freeman of concealing assets and incomes from his creditors. He faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted. We reached out to Freeman and various Dolton officials, but have not yet heard back.
And then Keith Freeman's lawyer had this to say.
We've had a couple of questions directed to me about whether or not this indictment means that the government is effectively trying to squeeze Mr. Freeman into cooperation. And I think that question is a question better put to the government. And the record will show overall that Mr. Freeman for many, many years has been a trusted public steward.
Damn. Well, either Keith Freeman actually has those charges, or they're trying to get Keith Freeman to tell on Tiffany Henyard. Now, let's look at what we're hearing about Louis Lacey.
And we are following some breaking news right now from the south suburbs. Dolton Deputy Police Chief Louis Lacey has been indicted on federal bankruptcy fraud charges. Federal prosecutors say Lacey has filed several personal bankruptcy cases since the 80s, but underreported his monthly income and concealed bank accounts that he controlled. Lacey was put on administrative leave last week, but reported to work the very next day. Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who is a supporter of Lacey, called the decision at that time political retribution.
Louis Lacey is also being indicted on bankruptcy fraud charges. And what is his lawyer saying?
That's exactly what the U.S. attorney does every single time. They start with people that they believe that they can flip. They go down the line. They show up at 6 o'clock in the morning when a person is not lawyered up, when a person is just waking up, and they're telling you, oh, I'm here to talk to you and be nice to you and don't worry about it. And you're not under arrest. And then we're going to leave and we're not going to arrest you today. But here are some questions that we have for you.
His lawyer is saying damn near the same thing that Keith Freeman is saying. But stop the show. The difference is Keith Freeman is cooperating with the Board of Trustees and also the FBI. You see, Keith Freeman was fired because he was telling on Tiffany Henyard. He was revealing everything because, hey, Keith Freeman ain't trying to go to jail. Now, Keith Freeman is a career criminal. He would rather be on the outside trying to possibly or allegedly scam people, but he ain't trying to go to prison and get them cheeks clapped. And Louis Lacey, who has been a Cook County police officer, most likely for a long time, everything is in jeopardy for him. Now, he already lost his job. If he gets indicted, he'll never be a police officer again. And if he goes to prison as a police officer, booty clapping sounds. They trying to get my man to turn on Tiffany Henyard. But the question is, will he do it? I think so. You see, let me just say this, guys. It's always cool when you're getting overtime pay like Louis Lacey was. He was making a ton of money with Tiffany Henyard. And you know, you're sitting on top of the world acting like your stuff don't stink until it really does stink. And this is the issue with a lot of guys. You know, people be doing all kind of stuff, doing whatever they can to get money and not feeling like the end won't ever come. But the end is gonna come, and the end did come, especially for Louis Lacey. The end came, and it is there, and it is now, and it is typically all bad. Now you lost your job, and now you're going to have to turn on Tiffany, and now you might go to jail. See, it's just not cool to be an idiot. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Produce you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.